I was on a road trip across the states to meet up with my family and a couple of friends on the West Coast. On the way there, I booked a cabin to stay at just for the night. Plan was to only be there for 10 to 12 hours. Basically, just eat dinner, shower, and sleep, then head back onto the road first thing in the morning.
When I arrived, I'd been on the road 9 hours already.
And I was very tired. The cabin was a lot more isolated than I thought, though. It could have just looked that way, because it was in the middle of the night and in the woods.
But it definitely wasn't what I expected. I think I was expecting it to be part of a whole row or cluster of other cabins that people also rented out.
But it wasn't. It just sat alone. I walked towards the door. Oddly, the front door didn't match the rest of the cabin.
It wasn't an issue by any means, but it was just very noticeable, and I thought it was a weird decision.
It was a modern, heavy door, while the rest of the cabin was all wooden and old. Anyway, this cabin was just a single room with a bed, kitchenette, couch, and TV all crammed into the small space. I wasted no time getting dinner ready, eating, and then getting ready for bed. I was pretty tired, so I passed out really fast. But I think only an hour or so after I'd fallen asleep, I woke up, not to a noise, but a feeling. I know it sounds crazy, but when I woke up, I just felt really uneasy for some reason. I sat up and just listened for a moment to make sure it wasn't anything I heard, but the cabin was silent. Still unsure, I peeked out the window next to me. I didn't expect to see anything, but when I looked out, I could immediately see something moving in the woods. It took me a few seconds to really tell what it was, but by the way the shadowy silhouette moved,
I was pretty sure it was a person. What the hell were they doing out here?
I could only watch them for 30 seconds. I'm not exaggerating when I say it was pitch black outside. The forest was dense, and no light from the moon or stars was coming down, before they were completely out of view. I stayed by the window for a bit, waiting to see if they appeared again. But after 5 minutes, I laid back down. Tomorrow was going to be a long day of driving. I tried to close my eyes and drift back into sleep.
But I was probably laying there for 40 minutes.
Still eyes closed and not being able to sleep. Before I heard something outside the cabin. There wasn't enough time to even comprehend what it was before a knock came at the door. Again, this whole cabin was one room, so the door they were knocking on was literally just a couple feet from me, and there was nowhere else to hide or exit from.
I jumped off the chair. My head was spinning. I don't think I'd been that scared in my entire life.
Hey! Open up! Open up!
Open the door now! I know you're in there. Open the door!
His voice was aggressive and angry, and only had me even more horrified. I didn't know whether to respond or what to do. They clearly knew I was inside. I mean, even my car was out front, practically giving it away. I got my phone and dialed 911. It took a minute for the call to go through. I think my phone had no service, so it was trying to use data, and it was just struggling. But when it got through, I got online with an operator who said an officer was on the way.
It's here. I can hear it outside. You have to send help now. Please.
The guy outside the cabin was still hitting the door, relentless and furious. Honestly, I couldn't tell if he was just banging on the door or trying to break it down. He never got in, though. After a minute or two, I heard him leave the porch. Then I heard glass shattering, which I knew was from my car. When cops pulled up, he wasn't there. There were some clear indicators that he ran back into the woods. But obviously they weren't just gonna run in there and look for him. At least not in the middle of the night. But when the owner of the cabin was contacted, things got a little weird.
He admitted that a previous resident had a similar incident.
But they never contacted the police about it. Apparently. Someone came knocking on the door in the middle of the night.
And was yelling at them.
Open the door!
The next morning, after the ones staying there had left, The owner found the door bashed open, like broken into with a sledgehammer or something. I guess the owner thought if he reported it,
Word would get out and nobody would want to stay there.
so he kept it on the low and just replaced the door with something heavier and more sturdy. Really weird. I don't know how to feel about that. End of the day, though, I was just glad to get out of there and go see my family and friends. Maybe I could have done more about it, but I just wanted it to be over with.
What that man came to the cabin to do will be something I continue to think about, likely for the rest of my life.